a lot for this invitation. It's flattering to be here. I'm Giancarlo Cotella from Polytechnic di Torino, and I've been asked to comment on the policy brief on the basis of my experience in the ESPON project. I've been involved in two ESPON projects, now one more starting. These two projects are ReSSi, a regional strategy for sustainable and inclusive development in Europe, and the other one is Compass, comparative analysis of territorial governance and spatial planning systems in Europe. So, on the basis of this, what about polycentric development in Europe? I have started with a bright message from analysis we performed on Compass on all the 28 countries in Europe and 4 more that compose the ESPON space. It appears clear that polycentric development is well acknowledged as a very important element of the European discourse and of territorial development, both at the European level but also inside countries. This is the case for many reasons. First of all, because the concept is old, I would say mature, in the sense that it developed with the ESDP and so on, and little by little trickled down in all national discourses. In countries that are polycentric historically, like for instance Italy and Germany, in countries that implemented polycentric policy under Litterman far before the ESDP, like Poland, like Germany, and so on and so forth, but also in countries that are monocentric. Because even countries that are monocentric understand the value, intrinsic value of polycentrism, where their strong capital center can network with centers outside the country. And this is because polycentricity, polycentric development, is multiscalar in its nature. It is not polycentricity at the national level, at the regional level. It can be cross-border, can be transnational, and so on and so forth. So there is already an acknowledgement of the importance of the subject. In this sense, we can say that the EU did a good job. It is on the agenda. It is on the agenda of nation states. It is on the agenda of regions. But, there is a but, how to actually promote and implement polycentric development is another kettle of fish. In the sense that, as Ilona said before, as it is in the conclusion of the report that I read, no single administrative level can do it alone. And this is where problems begins. Because from the Compass analysis of territorial governance and spatial planning system, we found out that territorial governance and spatial planning landscape in Europe is extremely heterogeneous. Like there are countries that at the national level have strategic plans and concepts and visions that promote polycentric development. The national level is very active in that. Poland is an example, starting with the national concept of spatial development in 2001, then the central hexagon, and so on. Well, there are other countries where the national level, due to the implicit characteristic of the territorial governance and spatial planning system, they do not produce any concept for development and devote this responsibility to the regions. On the contrary, there are countries where the central state is very strong, the local level is very strong, but there is no meso level, no subnational level, which is active in promoting polycentric development. So, and one more thing. Ilona was mentioning the importance not only of thinking on a hard administrative container, but also moving to functional regions for the promotion of polycentric development, which I completely agree. But the point is that, as you say, from our analysis, we saw that planning for functional region is not at all consolidated in Europe. There are some few examples here and there, but they are more experimental, starting experimenting from the practice. But then things are not like institutionalizing, They are not getting into being part of consolidated governance and planning systems. And when they are, their innovation potential gets somehow anesthetized. I can make the example of Italy, where we had a reform introducing metropolitan city. We have them in the constitution and they are on the agenda since the 90s. We finally managed to get metropolitan cities. Metropolitan city is a layer of government. And there were many discussions on how they should be shaped administratively. In the end, the logic behind the reform anesthetized the effect because it was a logic of spending review. We cut the provinces, and in some areas we introduced metropolitan city. And what happened is that they just overlap with the provinces. Or they have some slightly different competence, but in the end they're not functional region. They are what we had before somehow. That's my feeling at least. So thinking about outside hard boxing, getting into soft boxes, This would be something that must be done. Oh, it's finished? Is my timing? Is my 5 minutes finished, maybe? It was that? Oh. I don't know, maybe it was something else. I have no idea. So the problem arises here. How can the European Union help nation states in working towards polycentric development? And here I see 2, maybe 3 streets that are what Professor Barker was mentioning, like partly moral incentives, partly monetary, and partly more coercive and constraining condition, and what I would call legal conditionality, economic conditionality, and cognitive conditionality. The first one, the third one is the more easier, like continuing working on developing narratives behind polycentric development is a very important issue. At the time when the ESDP was drafted, it was obvious, it was going on. There was the blue banana, then all of a sudden Kuzman and Wegner came out with a bunch of grapes, and all this visioning and producing images was there. I don't see these images anymore, not with that power. I remember it went on with the red octopus. There was a red octopus at a certain moment. Then there was a Central European boomerang. Yeah? There were all these. This is not there anymore. And from the Comparative, it is clear that the ESDP is still remembered by the actor that are actually dealing with territorial development in the practice as an important reference. While if you talk about the territorial agendas, the first one and the one from 2011, it is there, people know that it exists, but it has not the same inspiration power. Yeah? And maybe there is a chance to get back to what was the initial message. Faludi talked about the golden age of European spatial planning. Why not to get back to that? Why not to build more vision, visualize vision? Yeah. Then there is the second thing is, okay, we have this macro-regional strategy. Why don't make vision into that? Why don't use them to promote networking? Yeah. Another important thing is to promote networking, as you said before, and capacity building. Yeah. There is a need to teach, not even explain, to provide territorial actors the means to effectively cooperate. Then there is the part about, and I finish with that, there is the part about economic conditionality. Yeah, they use a strong, as you say, carrot and stick. Huh? It's not always bad. It's not always bad to use the stick. You say, I give you the carrots if you perform in a certain way, and if you perform according to certain mechanisms and rules. Yeah? If this occurs, well, we have money to promote networking and cooperation. If it doesn't occur, then we have less money or we withdraw the money. There are conditionalities that can be attached to that. Because Professor Barca was presenting before the national strategy for inner area. That's a very good example for me. Then we can discuss if it works, if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. But at least it is an experimentation in the practice, yeah, of a nation state trying to use European Union cohesion money in a specific way at home in order to promote vertical coordination, horizontal coordination, yeah, all what is behind polycentric development. But this happened because there was a specific political condition, because Professor Barca, that is the father of the place-based approach, somebody say he's a rapper, then not a person before, yeah, because he was there at the ministry. It was a chance, there was this occasion. It was not because the EU pushed that. So if there is no stick, this doesn't happen everywhere. Yeah. So that's my feeling. The last thing is about the integration of funds. Because this is another thing that the National Strategy for Inner Area is trying to do, is to try to find ways and mechanisms to coordinate and integrate the various funds of the European Union. This is something that in our project, both Compass, but especially ReSSi, where we dig more deep into case study, we find out that even if there are strategies there that are territorial in nature, that really insist on the territorial capital of the place, then the way you have to spend the money to implement this strategy doesn't allow for horizontal coordination. Therefore, in this sense, maybe the European Union should do like Professor Barca was suggesting, having one fund with some sub-funds, which rules are maybe more homogeneous and allows for coordination. Well, that's a few things I wanted to share with you. I hope they may be useful. I'm open to question, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Giancarlo. And before we move to the next speaker, let me ask you, I take it from your point of what Professor Barca was saying about prototyping, so kind of experiencing things. If we all agree that there is no single level of government that can solve or can achieve by itself what we are pursuing here, what about adding to the picture private sector, civic associations, and mixing not only like political structures but also the society in a way? What would be your answer to that?
That's surely important. Sorry, that's surely important. I completely agree with that. And in this sense, strategic planning is really very important. Like as a platform for experimentation of new governance coalition that not only involve like the public the public being legitimated to take decision and then making decision and then enforcing them bottom up, but deciding all together. Yeah, this may happen, and it is something that may happen because strategic planning, in most of the cases, it is not linked to specific territorial administrative hard container. May happen also in functional region. It may help the idea of reasoning on functional region. I would say the strategy for Inner of Italy is doing that, but there are experiences all around Europe, at the city level and at the city region level, where, let's say, politicians and administrators are leading the private sector and the civil society in not only like token participation, but actually involving them into decision making. In this sense, I would say that to try to track down good practices and to spread the good practices, there will be something that may make the difference. And ESPON is doing that. ESPON is doing that with his targeted analysis somehow.
Thank you.